So this is the first episode of Cardboarding with Carla. I am Carla from Weird Giraffe Games, and every one of these episodes, it's gonna hopefully be like 10 to 20 minutes on one subject where I just talk about some aspect of design, publishing, something about board games. Okay? This first episode will be about blind playtesting. So, first off, there's a lot of different kinds of blind playtesting. If you ask somebody, they'll probably have a different definition, and that's okay. You can do a lot of different kinds of blind playtesting. In this specific episode, I'm going to talk about the blind playtesting you do with a person where you're mainly testing the rules. There's other kinds of blind playtesting where you can like ship your game off and get it playtested by people that don't know you, and you can see like if your game is fun, if it's intuitive, if they can, test the rules there too as well. But yeah, that is useful too. You definitely want to know if people that you don't know have fun with your game, or people that know that you're the designer, maybe they tell you it's better than it is because they can't handle saying bad things to the designer. So that's very important. But I like having a rule book that is very understandable, and I know that it's very understandable. So that's why I'm going to talk about this sort of blind playtesting. So, first, how do you get started? Who do you use to blind playtest? There should be a person, maybe that you know, maybe that you don't, that doesn't know that much about your game. They've never played it before. If they played it before, they're tainted. You won't get a good blind playtest. You can go to your coworkers, you can go to your friends. They can be someone that knows and likes you. It's really actually helpful because blind playtesting is hard. It's hard on you, the person that's running it, and it's also hard on the person that is going to go through the rulebook, because you'll find, unless you're like one of those people that's just great at everything, that your rules are bad. Rules are just very, very hard to write, especially board games, because board games you want people to do their setup correctly, gameplay correctly, the scoring correctly. Like, there's a lot of things going on, and they have to do it all correct, or else you've kind of failed. So, I like to get, starting out, only one person. One person just to read the rules and go through it, because if I had every blind playtest before people, I would run out of people before I would finish the blind playtest. And it's just easier to manage one person and watch them and see what they're doing. So get this one person. I suggest buying them lunch or dinner and being like pretty upfront with them, like, hey, this isn't going to be like fun times playing games. This is going to be kind of awkward because you might ask questions and I'm not going to answer them. I'm going to just respond to you with something like, what do you think the answer is? Or what is the intuitive way to do this? Or what would you do if I wasn't here? So for some people, like, that's really frustrating. But that's okay. You're testing the rules. You also want to tell them that. You're not testing them. They can't fail. If they do something wrong, it's your fault because you didn't write that well. That's okay. Writing is hard. You tell them all of this. Like, be really upfront. You also can ask them, like, hey, if you can talk out loud, what are your thoughts? Why are you doing things? Some people are really good at that, and you'll learn a lot. Other people don't like to talk out loud. You can give them reminders throughout the playtest of, hey, like, as you're going through your turn, maybe talk about what your strategy is and why you're choosing to do what you're doing at different times. Also, make sure to ask lots of questions. Specifically, do not only ask questions when they do something wrong. If you only ask questions when they do something wrong, they'll know that they did something wrong, and they'll start questioning themselves. But if you ask questions like, oh yeah, you selected that card from the market. Why'd you do that? Just, not that like they did anything weird or wrong, just why are they making the choices that they're making? Because there's some insight into the first time somebody plays a game. Like, maybe there's a strategy that is in the beginning that you as a person who's designed a game or played a game 100 times, like, you no longer know about that intro strategy just because you haven't played it, like the intro game, for so long. or maybe you never played the intro game of what has become the current game. So yes, lots of questions. When they do things right, when they do things wrong, you don't always have to tell them that they did the right or wrong thing. I would tell them that they did the wrong thing, like during setup. Like, ask, why did you set out the cards like this? And then they'll point to the line in the rules that you will later go change. And then you can fix it. Because you don't want them to keep going and to do this whole blind play test with something in the setup wrong. Because that kind of invalidates the rest of it. So point out their errors when you need to, but if they do something wrong in scoring, maybe you don't need to tell them that. Maybe just ask them to walk you through it. You can also ask them to walk you through a couple scorings. Sometimes I do that in the beginning. Like, they'll read through all the rules and they'll get to the scoring section, and I'm like, oh, okay, you've read the scoring example? Hey, what if this was your end game? Can you add up all the scores and stuff? I like to do this because then I know that they understand how scoring works, and that kind of will influence the rest of the game. If they have bad ideas on how scoring works, then their strategy will be off, and that will mean different things, like for the actual playtest. Because not only are you testing your rules, you're also testing your cards to make sure that they're understandable. So you might want to ask questions like, hey, what do you think that card does? Or can you explain to me this card? I generally play with them, but when it's my turn, I'll be like, oh, okay, if I go to this location, what happens? And you can make sure that you go through like every different scenario in the game by doing that. Like by making sure you do the thing that they haven't done, but having them explain to you how it would work so you know how they would do it. So yeah, blind play testing. Another thing about it is that it will take a long time. And what I mean by that is the first time you blind play test, you'll think your rules are great and they'll be messed up. And then you have to do it again and again and again. And it always goes on for longer than you think, unless you are really good at writing rules, which I'm not. But I also design games for entry level. So you have to think about your game, and that kind of also influences the people that will be blind play testing it, because if you want an entry level game, you need to get people who have only played Settlers of Catan and get them to read the rule book. Like, get people who are not the people that read rule books to actually read through it and tell you what's going on, because you'll learn things that you won't realize are true, such as the fact that set collection, that's not a thing that everyone knows. It's a thing that hobby gamers know. If a hobby gamer read, oh, this is set collection, they'll be like, okay, I get it, done, I know what I'm doing. But a person that's only played like Seven Wonders will be like, I have to collect a set, but what's the set? And you'll learn different things like that where like terms just aren't common to everyone. And you want, if it's an entry level game, you want it to just be picked up by like a family who's only played Monopoly, and you want them to be able to play it. So they have fun, and then they tell their friends, and they'll just have a good time, instead of not being able to understand the rules on the first game and never picking it up again. So think about your audience. You also want to go the hobby gamer route, because, a hobby gamer could play any sort of game. If you start with hobby gamers, you'll make sure that at least the rules are good enough for them, and then you can go back to people who haven't played any games, or generally just, watch videos and stuff. So yeah, blind playtesting, I think it is for everyone. You might not think to do it if you're a designer. A publisher definitely needs to do it. Every publisher should before it gets to the public. But if a designer does it, when they pitch to a publisher, they'll know that the publisher can actually read and understand the rulebook. The worst thing to do would be to send an unblind play tested rulebook to a publisher, because if they read it and they don't understand how to play the game and they make these assumptions and they just play wrong, then they'll be like, oh yeah, this game is just dumb. I don't want to read it. I don't want to have it. I don't want to publish it. So put your best foot forward, blind play test. Finally, a really great thing that happens when you blind play test is you learn how people learn. You'll get better at game design because you'll learn how to simplify your games to make them understandable to more people. So, make sure you listen carefully to everything the blind playtester says. Watch what they're looking at. You'll be able to tell when they don't know something, when they think they know something, and when they actually know it. And if you can tell when they transition, you'll be able to emphasize that. Like in your rule books, in your future designs. It'll just make you a better designer. So, I'm Carla. This is Cardboarding with Carla. If you want to learn more about me or my games, I'm at WeirdGiraffeGames.com, and I'm at Twitter at WeirdGiraffes. I'd really appreciate any feedback, or if you have a topic you'd like me to talk about, please contact me. I would love to talk to you. So, hi, this is episode 1, and thank you for watching.